Hello and welcome to Luigi's Mansion Mania, the show where I'll be reviewing every single Luigi's Mansion game and ranking them from best to worst. If Luigi's not your thing, maybe you'll be interested in my Mario Bros review series where I ranked every 2D and 3D platformer. Links to that in the description. To date, there have been 3 Luigi's Mansion games, and an arcade spin-off, and a few LEGO sets, and today I'll be looking at my personal most anticipated game in the series, Luigi's Mansion 3. Luigi's Mansion 3 didn't begin development immediately after Dark Moon. Instead, Next Level Games continued development on their planned Metroid spin-off that Dark Moon had originally derailed. The poorly received Metroid Federation Force released in August of 2016, and only then did Luigi's Mansion 3 development begin in earnest. Parallel to this, Nintendo teamed up with the 3DS port regular Grezzo, who at this point had put out The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D, Majora's Mask 3D, and Triforce Heroes, and tasked them with porting the original Luigi's Mansion to 3DS as well. The port released in October of 2018 and was generally liked. The port brought in features from Dark Moon, including 3D and the strobe bulb, and introduced concepts that would later be integral to Luigi's Mansion 3, like Gooigi and co-op play. Obviously, Grezzo and Next Level had some communication, allowing Gooigi to appear in both titles, but for the most part Next Level was working solely on the third official game in the series. Development was once again led by game director Bryce Holiday, and as is now tradition, was originally started for a different console. Luigi's Mansion 3 was planned to be a Wii U title, but once Federation Force finished, it was decided instead to be put onto Nintendo's upcoming console, the Nintendo Switch. I wouldn't doubt that right now, Next Level is deciding to put out Luigi's Mansion 4 on Nintendo's next console instead of the Switch. Early on, the team landed on the hotel setting to give players a sense of three-dimensional exploration. The hotel would allow players to easily understand the layout, with multiple floors designating the different themes. And while some areas of the hotel are more standard, Next Level also wanted to get weird with some of the others. One might be regular hotel rooms, the next being suites filled with plants, the next a full-on desert. Grezzo weren't the only developers Next Level communicated with during development. Bandai Namco and Masahiro Sakurai were the first to reveal some of Luigi's new gear and moves with his appearance in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. The new Poltergust, the G00 model, was included in the game, with the suction shot being integrated into Luigi's final smash. The game was first shown in September 2018 as part of a Nintendo Direct, and was officially released just over a year later in October 2019. Luigi's Mansion 3 was incredibly well received and sold just as well. As of March 2023, Luigi's Mansion had sold 12 million copies, doubling what Dark Moon sold, quadrupling what the original sold. And as of the recording of this video, it sits at the 16th best-selling Switch game. Nintendo was so impressed that in January 2021, they fully acquired Next Level Games, making them an official Nintendo subsidiary. While I didn't know all that much of 3, I knew significantly more than I did going into Dark Moon. I had heard many reviews citing it as good with an emphasis on great character animations, and I even watched the completionist review of the game. While I had forgotten a lot from that video, I did remember that completing this game would be basically impossible. Regardless, I started playing this game with high expectations, and they were blown away. Luigi's Mansion 3 opens with a bus recklessly driving through a scenic landscape, being driven by a toad who should in no way be cleared to handle such a large vehicle. The guy isn't tall enough to look over the wheel, and he's making turns way too sharply. Yet Mario, Peach, a couple other toads, Luigi, and Polterpup have for some reason trusted this toad to drive them to their destination. The group have been invited to stay at the Last Resort, an impossibly tall and clearly not evil luxury resort, and have taken the invitation at face value. They're greeted by Helen Gravely, the resort's owner, who leads them to their rooms. Luigi tuckers into bed with a book in hand and a ghost dog at his side before conking out immediately. And by tuckers into bed, I mean the man grabs a book and a flashlight from his luggage and crawls into bed with his full clothes and his dirty work shoes still on like a filthy troglodyte. Take off your shoes at least, Luigi. I mean, come on. Expectedly, as night falls, a wave washes over the hotel, turning the once glamorous building oh so terribly spooky. At that moment, Luigi is awoken by what sounds like Peach screaming. Upon investigating, he learns that Helen Gravely is 1. A ghost, 2. A superfan of the evil King Boo, 3. Has rescued King Boo from Egad's containment, and 4. Has set a trap for Luigi and Co. to capture them within paintings. On cue, the King Sphere himself appears and chases Luigi, as to capture him along with the others. Fortunately, Luigi fits through a laundry chute at the end of the hall, narrowly escaping painting imprisonment. Now in the basement, Polterpup guides Luigi through the garage and to Professor Elvin Gadd's car, which appears to have been abandoned down there. Stored within is the game's new iteration on the Poltergust, the G00 model, or as I will always call it, the Poltergust Goo. Equipped with protection, Luigi is now able to fight his way through the lobby and finds Egad imprisoned within a painting and hung in the ballroom. After tracking down the Darklight device, Luigi is able to rescue the lovable old kook, and the two grab Egad's portable lab from his car trunk. Once in the lab, Egad gives Luigi the new communication device, and I've got qualms with it this time around. In the first, it's the Game Boy Horror, the then current handheld. Makes sense. In Dark Moon, it's a regular DS, the then previous handheld. Still good. In 3, it's the Virtual Boo, a play on their failed VR console from 2 decades prior. It should have been a Wii U joke. That was the then previous console. No, this doesn't matter. Yes, I care about it a lot. From here, Luigi is sent on one last fetch quest before fully starting his journey. Egad's luggage contains a vial of goo. After wrangling it away from a spectral maid, Egad attaches it to the Poltergust goo to make everyone's favorite deadpan creation, Luigi. Paired with his sloppy and unafraid clone, Luigi treks through each floor of this haunted hotel, searching for elevator buttons guarded by boss specters, while hoping to find and rescue his portrait-bound pals. After battling to the top floor and capturing Helen and all of her ghostly compatriots, Luigi is finally able to rescue Mario. But this time Peach is also in danger and Mario rushes off to rescue her, cheering for Luigi to follow him. But after reaching the roof, King Boo ambushes the brothers. He cracks open Egad's lab like an egg and tosses a giant painting to capture everyone in one go. Fortunately, Polterpup is up to their mischievous ways, and while chasing a bat, knocks Luigi out of the way in the nick of time. And once again, Luigi dukes it out with the Oligarch Orb, and with the help of Luigi, is able to capture him, hoping that the third time is finally the charm. The hotel crumbles, Poochie saves Luigi again, this time from falling to his death, Luigi is fine, and Luigi de-paintings his friends. But as the normal, not bossed ghosts escape from their prison, they're super bummed that their home is gone. So Egad and the whole crew help them rebuild the resort, now featuring an Egad-esque interior, before Luigi and Co. head back home. Luigi's Mansion 3 controls very similarly to Dark Moon, but has proper joysticks to both walk around and aim with. The Poltergust can suck and blow, and aiming while launching projectiles is a tad bit better. The Darklight device returns and can now be used indefinitely, and the strobe bulb is still used to flash enemies to reveal their weak points, who are then sucked up by the vacuum. But now instead of having an ultra suck, once the meter is filled, Luigi's able to slam the ghosts back and forth, taking off large chunks of their HP with each hit. And these slams can be aimed. A slammed ghost can break nearby furniture or even slam into other ghosts, which causes both the slammer and the slammee to lose health. New to the Poltergust are the Gust, which propels Luigi into the air along with knocking back any enemies or objects around him, and the Suction Shot, a plunger with a rope tied to the end of it, which can be attached to certain objects or enemies, allowing Luigi to pull back on them hard. Luigi no longer has a run button, instead he picks up the pace after walking for a while. So now, instead of the B button doing anything, it makes Luigi do this. I did this a lot. Look at him do his little dance. And now there's also Luigi. Luigi controls the exact same as Luigi and can do everything Luigi can do. Additionally, he can walk through bars or fall through grates, but instantly dissolves in water. He also only has 25 HP to Luigi's 99, but if he falls in battle there's no punishment and can be summoned back almost immediately. Throughout the game are some puzzles that require both Luigi and Luigi to do the same task. For instance, both plunge the same large object and swing it around. The ghosts in the mansion are all slightly similar to their Dark Moon counterpoints, the blue boys the most so. They're just the green guys from Dark Moon, but blue dabba-dee-dabba-die. The red boys are a lot bigger, and instead of punching, they rush towards Luigi or slam the floor. The yellow boys are the new throwing guys, they hide and throw stuff, and the purple boys are the new sneaky guys, but instead of just spooking Luigi, they physically grab onto him. And much like in Dark Moon, the blue, and now the red guys too, can wear or wield things which need to be knocked or pulled off before Luigi can capture them. These articles are also removed if slammed by another ghost, which makes slamming even more useful. Boos return once more, but now instead of once per room, instead of once per mission, they appear once per floor. Egad designed Luigi's Goo to detect whenever a boo was close by. This translates to the controller shaking when Luigi is on a floor with a boo. Initially it'll rumble softly, it gets stronger by the door leading to the room that hosts the ghost. Once in the right room, the music changes and Luigi must walk around the different objects. Whichever one causes the controller to shake the most is the one that's hiding the boo. During the fight, the dark light reveals the boo, Luigi sucks its tongue up with the poltergust, but now instead of ping-ponging it around the room, he slams the specter all around just like the other ghosts. This process took me a while to figure out. Fully understanding what shake constituted the right shake took me a minute, and I was also being a bit of a dummy and forgot the dark light device would allow me to capture them. But most importantly, and to my utter shock and joy, each floor has a humanoid boss ghost guarding the next floor's elevator button, much like in the original Luigi's Mansion. Each ghost requires Luigi to solve a little 3 to get to them. Well, actually each room on each floor will usually have a puzzle, some normal ghosts, or both, which must be cleared to reach the boss battle. And the boss battles are, when they're at their best, interesting twists requiring complete knowledge of Luigi's moveset, as well as paying close attention to the environment and the ghost's attacks. At worst, some of the bosses feel a bit cheap with their attacks, and some of the puzzle solutions feel a bit obtuse. Throughout each floor are a series of collectibles. Money, of course, makes its return. Coins, cash, gold bars, and now the rare pearl can all be vacuumed up and added to Luigi's total. Plus, the controller makes a really satisfying rumble anytime money is sucked up, making for a very pleasurable experience, much like how collecting bolts was in Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. Early on, money can be spent on golden bones, which revive Luigi if his health reaches 0, or on cartridges that show the location of any unfound gems or uncaptured boos. And, again, like in the original game, how big of a resort that is built at the end of the game is determined by how much money Luigi collected. Speaking of gems, they make their return as well, with each floor having a series of 6 multicolored gems to be found. Some of the puzzles were really fun and intriguing and felt great to stumble onto, but much like the bosses, others were a tad bit convoluted. The environment is really where Luigi's Mansion 3 shines. Each floor is themed differently, from a regular hotel, to a shopping mall, to some truly wild late-game floors. And almost everything in the game is interactable. So much can be sucked up. The leaves off of every tree can be vacuumed. The papers and books on any shelf can be vacuumed. Even the random rubber ducky can be ingested by the poltergust goo. And during this process, cash will often start pouring all over the place. So sucking up everything is always beneficial. Additionally, when slamming ghosts or other heavy objects around, other fixtures in the room can be completely obliterated and the debris vacuumed up as well. See this treasure-filled display case? Smash it open and vacuum the innards. See this big vending machine? Smash that too! Luigi's Mansion 3 is the perfect sequel to Luigi's Mansion and Dark Moon. It took the controls and level design from Dark Moon and the character and structure from the original and improved upon both. The controls from Dark Moon, which were already pretty good for a 3DS game, were even better with a proper controller. Adding the plunger and gust moves to Luigi's skill set took a bit for me to get used to, but both wound up being integral to the game and really fun to implement. The control stick feels so much better when aiming the vacuum for sucking and light-related actions. I could always reliably look at a ghost, flash it, and suck it up. That being said, launching projectiles still sucked. Don't get me wrong, having the second joystick made it better than in Dark Moon, but only barely. Attempting to aim the plunger at objects only worked 15% of the time. Eventually I realized I could use the L button instead of the Y button to initiate the plunger, freeing up my thumb to actually aim, but even then the targeting felt too sensitive, and the launchables were almost as bad as they were in Dark Moon. Aiming the reticle needed to be slower, and important objects needed a wider range for lock-on. Despite that though, everything else worked really well, and the move from big sucks to slamming ghosts was a great addition. I loved the chaos it added to battles, and targeting another ghost with a slam and beginning to capture it as soon as the other was caught was really fun to perform. Sometimes I couldn't quite get the depth perception to work. I thought I could slam ghosts that were just a tiny bit too far away, but that's likely a personal problem. The structure of the haunted hotel was probably my favorite part of the game. Having a series of haunted floors, each with their own unique twists and creative bosses, was an absolutely perfect combination of the original mansion with Dark Moon style levels. Each of the floors had a new and inventive puzzle to decipher, but like in the original, exploring everything had a sense of permanence. Bossed ghosts and boos couldn't return, which made the progression actually linear. Luigi's Mansion 3 felt like exploring a series of mini-mansions, whereas Dark Moon felt like a series of levels. The floor structure also allowed the game to feel cohesive while not getting old. Each had access to the elevator and a series of rooms, but were different enough so exploring the next was always an exciting proposition. And since the hotel was both impossibly tall and magically imbued, the wildly different floor plans and wild set pieces felt at home. And an attention to detail that left me so impressed, so happy, overjoyed even. Every single place you'd expect to have a bathroom has a bathroom. Each of the hotel rooms has a bathroom. The lobby outside the music hall has a bathroom. There are bathrooms just outside the shopping floor. Every floor has a place to pee. And I'm only half joking. In real-world architecture, you'd need to have bathrooms all over the place, and having that emulated in the game grounds this impossibly tall haunted hotel with some sense of reality. Each floor is haunted by some incredibly great characters. I love the guys from the original Luigi's Mansion, but at the end of the day, many of them are just guys doing something in a room. Luigi's Mansion 3's bosses are filled to the brim with personality, and it makes exploring these floors so much more fun. The Paul Blart Mall Cop ghost, a cop who thinks he's cool but is actually more cowardly than Luigi is fun to watch roll around and pretend he's an action star. I loved seeing which plants the ghost gardener would grow to hamper Luigi's progress. Sometimes huge vines would destroy stairs, other times giant pineapples would bounce towards the plumber. And there's a ghost shark. A ghost shark! A ghost shark! Each of the bosses are fought in wildly different ways, with some tormenting Luigi throughout the entire floor, not just the final arena. That being said, some of the boss fights also got on my nerves. I won't say any were designed poorly, but many took me longer to figure out than they should have. I also found myself getting hit most of the times the games wanted me to gust out of the way of an attack. These moves happened so rarely that I didn't have time to memorize their tells, and the gust was barely used during the normal gameplay, so I often forgot it was even a move by the point I needed it. My favorite aesthetic flourishes were when the hotel's structure hit up against the floor's theming. Yes, there's an area filled with sand. I don't like sand, it's coarse, rough, etc. And yes, I did vacuum up every grain of it. But doing so reveals that the walls have vents pumping in new sand, and many of the background features are cardboard sets. I liked imagining that there was some sort of budget to build every floor. The oasis or the desert weren't meant to be walked on, so most of the money was spent crafting the interior of the pyramid, and the interior looks almost real the entire way through. This fun dichotomy between each floor still being part of a larger hotel, but many of the ghosts wanting their rooms to be extravagantly themed made the exploration even more rewarding. Speaking of aesthetics, Luigi's Mansion 3 is stunningly gorgeous. The animations in Dark Moon were really good, but the team went all out with 3. All the toads are so bubbly, Luigi's cowering has never been so fluid, all the ghosts are fun, and all the bosses have such fun flourishes during combat. I especially enjoyed how each had a unique pose when being sucked into the poltergust. And Egad's animations were wild! His mouth is animated to match Kazumi Totaka's voice clips. Plus, you can slightly see his pupils behind his glasses now. It's truly wild in the best way possible. Fidelity-wise, the game is also beautiful. The dust and cobwebs are slightly translucent, Luigi's clothes have individual seams, gold glitters just right in the light, and every environment is lit and textured wonderfully. This is only enhanced when Luigi is mid-action. The explosions of various objects as he's sucking away at shelves, or when a ghost smashes apart a piece of furniture, it all looks just realistic enough. The fidelity doesn't distract from the gameplay. Everything, from the animation of the objects to the overall art style, is all cartoony enough to make it very clear what objects are interactable and what is just part of the scenery. It could have been very easy to miss something if a room wasn't lit well enough, or if an interactable object blended in with the background, but it was never an issue. And those bathrooms, them's some real good bathrooms. No game has more appealing waste receptacles than Luigi's Mansion 3, I tell you what. Visuals are only half of the aesthetics. The game sounds just as good. I, of course, still miss the funky soundtrack of the original, but nothing will buy me over quicker than making a song jazzier. So when I heard the new rendition of Egad's theme, I was instantly sold. The whole soundtrack is wonderful. I immediately liked the game's main theme more than the one in Dark Moon, and hearing it sprinkled throughout the various floors was always a treat. Plus, each floor does more than just remix the game's main theme. They're all given different melodies that match up with the floor's aesthetics. They also have different themes for if a room is haunted, if the room is not haunted, if Luigi is mid-combat, or if Luigi is actively sucking up a ghost. The different scores did a great job setting the unique tones across the different areas. Charles Martinet has returned, for likely the last time, to voice Luigi and Mario this time around too, and I did like his performance overall, but I also noticed it was a bit off. Luigi's voice seemed lower, more gravelly than in the other games.
Mario! Oh, Mario!
Once used to it though, it's still a masterful performance. Also, while his calls for Mario through the D-pad don't quite hit how good they were in the original, I'm still so glad this feature persists. And here we are again, my completionist bone rears its ugly head once more. Over the course of this game and Dark Moon, I've come to really appreciate next level games, but I'm not really the biggest fan of multiplayer modes. The Scare Scraper has returned, now allowing up to 8 players to explore this haunted tower, but this time it's actually impossible to do it solo. There isn't enough time for one person to catch all the ghosts, and with even more rare ghosts that can only be caught occasionally, some of which require purchasing the DLC to even encounter, I simply don't have the time or the people to get them all. Gerard Khalil, the completionist, even warned me of this in his review. It still bums me out. On a brighter note, and to my pure surprise, Luigi's Mansion 3 added actual, real, honest-to-goodness achievements. And they were all really good achievements. Some were as simple as collecting a lot of money, catching a lot of ghosts, or collecting all the gems, standard achievement fare. But others were hidden puzzles throughout the various floors. I was so pleasantly shocked when I decided to suck all the billiard balls into these sockets, only to see a beautiful achievement pop up on my screen. Going through and stumbling into the few I naturally unlocked was always a serotonin boost. Luigi's Mansion 3 is a really good game. Solid ghost catching gameplay, such fun puzzles, great levels to explore, exciting boss fights, jamming music, fantastic graphics. It really is the full package. It's anything and everything I could have possibly wanted out of a Luigi's Mansion game. And Polterpup is so incredibly cute, giving Luigi a dog was the best decision.
Oh, doggy.
Overall, I give Luigi's Mansion 3 a G out of 10. Now on to the ranking. Our current ranking is number 2, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, and number 1, Luigi's Mansion. This one is a lot easier for me to decide. Really, as soon as I saw the very first made boss ghost, as soon as I realized Next Level was doing the thing so right, I knew I'd be loving this game. Our new and final ranking of Luigi's Mansion games is number 3, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, number 2, Luigi's Mansion, and number 1, Luigi's Mansion 3. Luigi's Mansion 3 is a really great game. Luigi's Mansion is a really great series of video games. I'm really glad I decided to finally play through them. But there is still more to come. I have a couple of Luigi's Mansion Lego sets ready to be built, so be prepared for a bonus video where I do just that soon. And if at any point I can find one, I'll be sure to try out and review the Luigi's Mansion arcade game. I'll also hopefully check out Luigi's Mansion 2 for the Switch when that releases, and when the hypothetical Luigi's Mansion 4 is released for the new Super Nintendo Super Switch 2, I'll be more than excited to review it. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on Luigi's Mansion 3 in the comment section. Also, let me know if you've seen the arcade game somewhere in the Phoenix area. And while you're here, maybe leave a rating on the video and subscribe if you'd like to see more of my videos. If you'd like to read more of my thoughts, then you can find me on my social medias where I'm at Mario8 everywhere. Links to each are in the description. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time.